Let's be honest. Prayer is kind of weird. Think about it. You're sitting alone in your room, talking with someone you can't see, can't physically hear, and you can't send a text message to. And if an alien landed on Earth and saw someone praying, they'd say, yeah, the humans, they have begun speaking to the ceiling again. But despite how strange it might seem, billions of people pray. Every day, every culture, every language. Rich people pray, poor people pray, athletes pray, soldiers pray, students, they definitely pray. 5 minutes before an exam they forgot to study too. So, what actually happens when you pray? Are you talking to yourself? Does God really hear you? And if He does, why don't answers always come immediately? So, let's talk about it. First, let's clear up a common misconception. Prayer is not some kind of magic spell. You don't say the right words, press the spiritual submit button, and suddenly a Lamborghini appears in your driveway. If that was the case, then every teenager in the world would be driving a supercar by now. And the Bible, it doesn't describe prayer as a cheat code. It describes prayer as a relationship. Now, think about any close friendship. If you only talk to your friend when you wanted something, it would not be much of a friendship. Hey man, I haven't spoken to you in 6 months, but anyway, can I borrow $1,000? Yeah, it's not exactly ideal. So, prayer is communicating with God. It's talking, listening, trusting, sharing, and sometimes asking, but sometimes it's simply just being with Him. And according to Christianity, the first thing that happens when you pray is surprisingly simple. God hears you, not because you're important, not because you're famous, it's not because you're especially holy, but because He cares about you. And that's exactly one of the most radical ideas in Christianity, that the creator of the universe is not too busy to listen to you. Think about that. The God who made stars, galaxies, oceans, mountains, and probably the creatures we haven't even discovered yet, still has time for your prayer. Even the awkward ones. Especially the awkward ones. Now here's where people usually ask, if God hears every prayer, why doesn't He answer all of them? Fair question. And in fact, that's probably one of the biggest questions Christians has to wrestle with, because we've all experienced it. You pray for something, nothing happens. You wait, still nothing. You pray again, nothing. And at that point, some people start wondering if God accidentally left them unread. But the Bible presents prayer differently. Sometimes God's answer is yes, sometimes it's no, sometimes it's wait. And let's be honest, most of us hate that third one. Waiting is terrible. Human beings don't even like waiting for 5 seconds for a video to load. Imagine waiting months or years for an answer. Another thing Christians believe is that prayer changes us, not just our circumstances, us. Think about it. When you consistently bring your worries, fears, anger, and struggles before God, something starts happening. You begin seeing things differently. Your priorities they shift, your perspective changes. You become less focused on controlling everything and more focused on trusting God. That doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means you're not carrying everything alone. One of the most famous examples comes from Jesus himself. Before his crucifixion, Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. And here's something interesting. He wasn't calm and relaxed. He was distressed. He knew suffering was coming, and he prayed, not because it instantly removed the difficulty, but because it strengthened him to face it. Sometimes prayer doesn't change the storm. Sometimes it changes the person walking through the storm. And now let's talk about something a lot of people don't mention. Prayer isn't always words. Sometimes people imagine prayer as giving God a really long speech, like you're presenting a school project. Today, God, I have prepared a 27-slide presentation regarding my current problems. But prayer can be incredibly simple. I thank you, I cry for help, a moment of silence, a single sentence. Even Jesus gave an example prayer that takes less than a minute to say. The power isn't how fancy your words are. The power is in who you're talking to. And here's some good news. You don't have to be perfect to pray. A lot of people think they need to clean up their lives first. They think, I'll pray once I become a better person. But that's like saying, I'll go to the doctor once I'm healthy. The whole point is that you go as you are. Confused, pray. Doubting, pray. Angry, pray. Scared, pray. God already knows what's going on anyway. You're not surprising him. So what actually happens when you pray? According to Christianity, you speak to God. God hears you. Your relationship with him grows and your heart begins to change. Your trust deepens, and sometimes in ways you never expected, your life changes too. Not because prayer is magic, not because Christians have some secret spiritual trick, but because prayer connects us to the God who loves us. And maybe that's the most amazing thing about prayer. You don't need a special building, you don't need expensive equipment, you don't need a degree, you don't need the perfect words. You can pray right now in your room, on a bus, in a car, walking outside, anywhere, anytime. Because prayer isn't about finding the perfect words, it's about reaching out to God. And according to Christianity, He's already listening. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more videos about Christianity, faith, history, and the big questions people have about God. And before you go, I'd love to know, what has your experience with prayer been like? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.